Welcome, everybody,
Sorry.
to...
That's what I was thinking. We need to
Do it again.
for editing purposes.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Third Person POV, a Writers Group podcast. I'm JC Bybee. I'm joined by Tyler Hess and Gray Alder. We are three writers who record our writers group and let everybody watch and ask us questions and see what it's like to interact, critique, and receive feedback in a positive light. Tonight, mostly. So tonight we'll be critiquing three pieces again. But before we get into the critiques, we have our, as always, announcements and promos. We will be at Gem State Comic Con on May 15th at the Idaho Expo, which is technically in Garden City, but they say it's in Boise. And we will be doing a community panel at 4:00 p.m. on Friday, May 15th, talking
The
about
opening act.
Yeah, we're the opening act, talking about being in a writer's group. And that will be at the community room at the center building of Idaho Expo. I will also be there selling books. So once the community panel is done, I can talk. You can come by, swing by, get autographed stuff. It'll be fun.
Support
also,
starving indie authors.
Yeah. Also, you can find all of my books, including the two new ones that will release May 15th at jcbybee.com. Tyler, where can we find your stuff?
HessTylerblog.com. I will edit your book. Probably.
Yes.
Maybe. If it's in my genre.
Yeah. And
make
Gray?
you an offer you can't refuse. You can find me at grayalderbooks.com. And remember, Gray is spelt the pretentious British way with an E. So grayalderbooks.com.
I will also say we have expanded what we do on this podcast. This episode will release after our first author spotlight with Keelan Schaefer. So if you haven't listened to that, go listen to that. We're going to start probably every other week posting some kind of author spotlight like that where one of us interviews an author, middlingly or low fame levels, give them some exposure, give us cool things to talk about, cool people to talk to. So that should be really fun.
Yeah. And if you know an author that might be interested, that you know and can contact, go ahead and put it down in the comments and we'll see if we can get a hold of them and maybe interview one of your favorite authors.
Tolkien estate would be great.
Yeah.
Dude.
It would be wild.
And keep putting questions for us in the comments. We really appreciate that. We're going to talk about a few questions a viewer left in the comments. So we're excited for that.
Yep.
Thank you. At Draklian. Draklin.
Drakelian?
Nice. Drakelian?
I don't know. They have like it looks like they have like a gaming channel. So.
Oh, gotcha.
Nice.
Nice.
Check that out.
That's awesome.
Pretty cool.
All right.
Okay.
We will start into the critiques now with Tyler. No, Gray. Gray is up first, right? So you have written down.
Cue future Gray.
So cue future Gray.
Hey, gelatinous grammar genies. I'm the future version of Gray, and this is the context for my submission this week. We pick up with our protagonist Nin and his companions, Gil, Atot, and the Merchant, leaving the Jackal's corpse behind and heading off-road after recovering Gil's important diamond-like stone from where Nin had stashed it alongside the road. Gil explains some of his actions from the night before, having followed the treacherous boar into a trap. Out of fear of reprisal, the group deters off the main path toward St. Bellum's and through the wilderness. They come to the edge of a misty, dangerous valley, from the bottom of which they hear hellish shrieks. Atot is reluctant to proceed further due to the possibility of a weather condition which is relatively common in the Aureus forest, namely acid rain. Gil announces that they have crossed over into the more dangerous second circulus of the forest, and their conversation is interrupted when the massive bronzewood golem called Niles from previous chapters crashes down from the sky and attacks him with terrifying brute force. During the fierce battle, Nin and the others fight back with grenades, logs, and pistols, while one party member is badly wounded. The golem hints at some past battles with Gil, then demands the powerful stone as Nien tries to stall and deceive it.
Get the right one up over here.
And did we decide who was critiquing first?
Well, I think since I'm next, I'll go first on him. Okay, so this section felt shorter than it was. I'll be honest. It went by really fast. So that is always a good sign to me that it's well written, because when I get done with a section and I'm like, wait, that was that long, it's a good sign. There are some word choice things here and there that I've tagged you on, some things to consider. I just thought it was funny that when Gil says possession, Nien's response is, "Are you quite mad?" when he literally is somebody that exists through a form of possession. It was really funny to me, this idea that he views memory magic as he seems like it's this very logical system that makes sense, that has rules, and religion is superstition. And I like that. Like, I really like that is still his attitude. And I like we're finally getting a little bit of idea of what the stone is. I like Gil's explanation. It doesn't belong to me, but to all the gardener's children. So it gets that religious significance. And so if there's religious significance, there is going to be a fight for it, because there's power. We know that the chaplains have power. Whether it's just a form of magic, whether it's actually divine power, we don't know yet, and that's fine. But now that we know the stone is at the very least religiously significant, it makes a lot more sense why they're fighting for it. Let's see here. So when this stone does show up again, I think you need to add some kind of reaction from the merchant, because of how strongly he reacted to it the first time. So whether that is whether he's able to restrain himself in front of Gil or not, or maybe all of a sudden his attitude is completely changed, some kind of reaction, I think, is appropriate at that point. Let's see, nothing there. So one of the things I noticed is throughout, probably for the last 3 or 4 sections, Nien never really gets to say his full thoughts, never really gets to address, like, well, I say, began Nien before pausing, just as, something big is about to drop on them. He never seems to get to finish his thoughts, or he gets ignored. Like, he feels like one of the most irrelevant protagonists at times. And to me, it's not like, not in the way that, why are we following this guy, but more along the lines of, he is a leaf caught in a rapid, and he's just trying to figure out what the heck is going on, and he's constantly getting pushed downstream. And when he bumps into a rock to stop himself for a second, he tries to figure things out, but immediately gets pulled away and rushed further downstream. Like, he doesn't get a chance to catch his breath. So instead of feeling like you don't have the problem that I have with my characters, that in the Here Unit series, where, Ace and Jessica are really powerful, and it takes a lot to stop them. Your character, very powerful, competent, way over his head. And so if that's what you're shooting for, if you're driving for this, he keeps getting knocked down because he's out of his depth and he's over his head, you are achieving that really, really well. And if that's not what you're going for, you might want to make sure that that's what you're going for.
That's so interesting, JC. He gets knocked down, but he gets up again. Just because I'm like, what you're describing is the opposite of a protagonist. So I'm like, I might have a huge problem on my hands if he isn't, for the most part, directing the course of events. If he's just reacting to events, I'm like, Okay, that's definitely something to tweak at the very least.
Yeah, I think.
You sorry, go ahead,
Go
JC.
ahead. No, go ahead.
It's a good place for a protagonist to start. Like
Right.
being reactive is fine, but you do want to eventually and probably pretty soon, based on where it feels like the story's going, you want to move into being a more proactive protagonist. But it's fine if that's where he is right now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
that is super insightful.
Sorry, I don't want to like step on your critique,
No.
Casey, but in a lot of ways, Nian is really on his back foot right now. He's had so many things happen. He hasn't really had a chance to process them. And I think once he has had a chance to process and like actually decide what he wants, now that he's not necessarily being ordered around by Atrium, I think once he decides what he wants, he'll be able to step more into himself and be more proactive towards his own goals, whatever those end up being.
Yeah. And one of the things we talked about this a few sessions ago about how to build a relationship between Nian and Gil, maybe giving them a few more days where it's just those two walking. If you do that, you give us time where Nian isn't on his back foot, where he's getting a feel for the situation. He's getting a feel for Gil. He's understanding, maybe Atrium's giving him occasional, I hesitate to say encouragement with Atrium, but something along those lines, because you don't want Atrium to come across as a nice guy, but more along the lines of, yes, this is what I want you to do. Shut up, keep going kind of ideas. So Nian settles into a comfortable place. He's competent. And then we go through this section, where they meet up with the merchant and they meet up with the two tribesmen, and all of the sudden everything goes out of whack. And he just hasn't had a chance to recover yet, which happens in a lot of books. I'm trying to think. There's the usual suspects, the Dresden Files, the Wheel of Time. One of the later books of the Wheel of Time, Rand spends practically the whole time running away from people. Like he's never gets a chance to catch his breath. And so it's not an uncommon theme for a protagonist to have these moments of, I'm way out of my depth. I'm on my back foot, like Tyler said. And so I don't think you're on the wrong track right now. But like Tyler said, also, soon he needs to have a turnaround. Something needs to happen where he gets a chance to rest, recover, reset, and say, okay, I am not reacting, I am acting, is my thought. And then Nyla shows up. Things blow up, basically. I liked the fight scene. I liked how Nihilus arrives. The funny thing is Nian has this comment. He likes the sound of his own. It likes the sound of its own voice, easy enough to distract. And my first thought was, that's just like Atrium. He's like it. He feels like not a copy, but he is along those lines of the same. I'm better than you, so I can talk and talk and talk because you're not a threat to me. Kind of feeling. I think you need to have, so he says, I suppose Kent taught you nothing of the old arts. Was he afraid that you would outgrow him too quickly? I am the one called Nihilus. And Nian doesn't, you don't put any, that name sounds familiar. Nian had no idea what he was talking about. Just one little line of, that triggered something. Maybe he heard something. Maybe, again, he doesn't have any idea. I like that you confirmed something I suspected about
What
Atrium.
was
that Atrium wasn't allowing other memory mages to form up to
flourish.
Yeah. because it felt like that. It didn't feel like Atrium wanted to teach people. It felt like he wanted to use people to get what he could from them, and that the Neon Stills personas he viewed as too much of a threat to let them live anymore.
Ish.
And yeah,
Because he could have killed them.
Mm-mm.
It seems like.
Yeah, it didn't. Yeah, but he was. Yeah, like I said, good quick section. And again, it's mostly a couple of word choice things that I picked up on. Otherwise, yeah, I like what it does for the story. I like what it does with the narrative and the overall sense of there are big things happening and we are starting to learn them. Tyler,
Cool.
what do you think?
Yeah, I really like that Nihilus shows up. It might seem a little bit contrary to something I'm going to say, but it makes so much sense because back in the last section when he had the corpse possessed, he was looking for landmarks. Like he was trying to figure out how to get to Gil. And obviously Gil is going to keep moving, so he had to act fast. I didn't know that he could fly. I didn't know that he being in this like statue golem thing would be able to fly. I don't mind it. It's nice. It's cool. It's a very dramatic superhero entrance, making the creator and causing chaos and confusion, which I think is very, very up his alley. So big kudos for that. I concern with these last few sections is this is kind of the opposite problem that JC's had, is that you've almost had too much action. Meaning that, like, and kind of like what JC was saying earlier with like giving Gil and Ian a little bit of time, like there hasn't been any time to process anything. Like there are so many questions that, especially Ian and even Gil has questions he's going to answer. He's been noticing things about Ian and he's kind of been calling it out but not pursuing it, which I think he does need to soon. Which, now I'm going off on a little tangent, but Gil seems like the person, like he wants to be able to trust people and he does have good instincts and he does feel like he can trust Nian. But the things that he's noticing, where he picked up on that he was talking to someone completely different a couple nights ago. He picked up that Nian knows his father's name. So he obviously had like previous knowledge of Gil. That would be a big one for me. That would be like, oh, this is suspicious. What is going on? So Gil, I think, needs to pursue that sooner rather than later, no matter how trusting he is, because he's obviously world-wise enough to have picked up on what the boar was doing. Like he went straight after the boar when that tribesman was bringing in the jackals. So he's not like naive. Does that kind of gel with what you're thinking with Gil's personality?
Totally. What you guys are both describing, I think I have a tendency like JC, not white space syndrome, but like, let's get to the next bullet point. Mm-hmm. Let's get to the next bullet point. And so I have when I'm kind of working from on an outline mixed with the discovery writing, like, oh shoot, need to get this on the page, need to keep it going. Right. And so as you're talking, I'm like, oh, when they were walking in the wilderness, they could have had this conversation right there that you're describing, mm-hmm. like, or at least, in a couple of lines addressed some of those potential concerns. Like, oh, that makes so much sense. I feel like there's so much room in the next draft to go back and answer some of that. Mm-hmm. Like sprinkle in a few answers beforehand, and then before you give like the substance, the big conversations. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And this is 100% first draft problems. Like I totally get it. Like no beef with me, man. But I'm just pointing it out.
Yeah.
Some of the questions I think that Nian should be thinking about. Like he. I feel like we haven't gotten like an emotional reaction to him losing his powers, being blocked from his powers, having a little bit of his powers. And I don't know if that's because he doesn't care. I would be surprised if it's because he doesn't care, but maybe something like this has happened before and he expects them to come back and he just knows that he's going to be fine. He just has to wait. If that's the case, we need that. We need to know that he expects them to come back. If he is panicking about this, like I would be panicking about this. Like if I've been relying on my powers for as long as this personality has been existing, I would be upset about it. And it does seem like he's starting to get them back, or at least he's being able to trick his way into making. I'm not really sure exactly what happens there at the end, whether it's his
Haha, you're not
powers
supposed to know what's happening at the end.
that's what I figured.
Kind of figured.
But it feels like he's starting to get at least a little bit, and he's started to hear stills again, which is another thing. It seemed like they bonded, so I think he should be a little bit more concerned about not having stills to support him. But we just don't get any of that internal dialogue, so I think we need some of that. Gil needs to talk to him soon about who the heck this guy is. You also have the question with the merchant and his parasite. Probably doesn't need to be talked about too soon, but does need to be kind of on your plate of questions to talk about. Atop, like, who the heck is this guy? Why is he so everything? I feel like he has a lot of different sides, which makes him feel really real. But I feel like someone needs to push him a little bit on that at some point. I just think because you've been going bullet point to bullet point, like you've been talking about, because you've been having so many action scenes, you have this big backlog of questions that don't necessarily all need to be answered, but you need to keep kind of drawing your reader's attention to these questions so that they're still a question. Otherwise, I think they're going to forget some of these questions, like how easy would it be to, like maybe you are as you're writing this first draft for sure. But like I could easily see a reader forgetting the parasite. Like, that was creepy, that was gross, but then we moved on from it so fast, and it feels like it's going to be a bigger thing eventually. So just little reminders. It doesn't have to be anything massive. Just make sure that your reader knows what they should be wondering about, basically. Go back into the sandwich. I love when a tot throws the trees at Nihilus. I don't know what it is. I was reading The Will of the Many by James Islington this week, and there's another instance where a character throws a tree, and I'm just like, I don't know what it is about throwing trees. It's just such a boss move. Like, if you can throw a tree at someone, like, doesn't that just trump anything that they can do? I mean, not in this case, obviously. Like, Nihilus is barely even affected, but
primitive man strength, just pure beef. Yeah,
just pure, like, yeah, that was cool. I really like that. Any questions for us?
I just realized something while you're talking. You guys didn't even point this out, but I don't think at any point during that fight when Niles just like flies in, like, cool, time to die. Do I block out where the merchant is? I just completely forgot about him, which is something similar to what Kim pointed out a couple of weeks ago in another chapter during an action sequence. Like, there's just a character, like, where is he during this part of the fight sequence? I don't know.
For the merchant, like I didn't notice it, but now that you say it, like, I'm actually not bothered by it, because he seemed like the person who just, like, he would disappear, like, immediately and not be a part of the fight.
I would love to at least have a throwaway line of, like, how much of a coward he is. Like, just keep driving that home. Nobody likes this guy.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's
so. I do have a question. Have you diagrammed out any of, like, drawn out crude map style any of your fight scenes, just to kind of
I have not.
rough idea?
Have you tried that before?
I have, yeah.
Does that work pretty well for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I do fantasy, referencing our conversation prior to recording, my wife and I did, sword fighting, historical European martial arts. And so there were a couple of times where I grabbed our practice swords and said, okay, sweetie, I need to walk through this fight.
That's so cool.
Can you, we need to walk through this. And so we did. And, I'm not a competitive sword fighter. I am not a competent sword fighter, I would say, anymore, but I was able to step through what I felt would happen.
Mm-hmm.
Makes a big difference to making the scene feel real. So if you have a rough idea of where everybody is, and their capabilities, what they're going to be able to do, versus this giant golem that is kicking the crap out of them, it's going to make you say, okay, if he's here and he's here, what can they do in this situation? And that depends on how you want the fight to go. I mean, if you want it to be, Nihilus kicks the crap out of him and lets him live because that's what bad guys do, fine. But if you want something that happens that kicks Nihilus out of the fight for whatever reason, understanding where these guys are will help with that.
Yeah.
One other thought that comes to mind as you bring this up, JC, the idea of blocking out a fight sequence in your book ahead of time to help you parse through where all the different players are. is just breaking out like some sort of D&D map that has tiles or hexagonals, and just breaking out a few minis to just just so this guy represents this character. This is a protagonist. Here's the big boss. I think that might actually be helpful as a visual. I don't actually have any of that on me since I no longer have a 3D printer, but I suppose there's these things called stores, and
friendly local gaming shop.
If you have a chess set.
Oh yeah, that'd be a good one.
I wish I was that intellectual, Tyler.
Oh, I apologize.
That was a humble brag just now. If you have a chess set.
I apologize for the humble brag. That's literally what I used for the first several months of being a DM. Was I just used chess.
That's awesome. Nice.
Just do what you can to make it work. Theater of the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. No, all that is super helpful. Yeah, just I feel like this is giving me a ton of notes that I can use to go back in the second draft, and a few things to keep in mind for things that I haven't written yet to yeah, it's funny how internal motivation seems to be just a complete throwaway for me. Like, oh yeah, they should have a reason for doing this, or like, oh yeah, he should address that really weird moment between the two of them. But apparently that's just not something that occurs to me when writing a first draft.
That's why you got us.
That's exactly. That's what we're here for.
I'm just imagining going through this process without you guys. I'm like, oh, that would be pretty terrible.
It's hard. It's really hard. Not having, like, I'm really lucky that my wife is willing to do as much as she does for mine. Mm-hmm. Like, she's printed out copies of my books and marked them up for me, and so having somebody to bounce ideas off of is super helpful. Which makes me glad that you guys decided to do a writers group, and I was able to.
And you were there and tall and visible, and we chose you.
The bearded guy who's teaching in the front of the class. Let's grab him. Seems like he knows what he's doing. Yeah, he's dumping on Avatar as a franchise. I think we can trust him with world building.
No comment. I don't
You're turning red, JC.
To be very clear, the blue people Avatar, not Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Not the Last Airbender. No.
Which I hear there's a sequel coming out for. Bald
I
Avatar.
hear there's a sequel that was leaked.
I heard that too.
Right
I got really curious.
Yeah.
I did not click on that article. I was deeply tempted to.
Because we can't throw any shade against the original Avatar: The Last Airbender.
No. That's season 2. Oh my gosh, that is
absolute peak. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I know JC really loves the beach episode in season 3.
Ooh,
not so much the rest of us.
Okay, get ready to duck thrown stones. But I have never actually watched Avatar,
brother.
You got to remember. Think about when it came out. It came out.
You were like in your 60s then.
Okay,
yes,
fair enough.
I missed it, and I've never had the chance to go back. Like, literally, never had the chance to go back and watch it. I've seen scenes. Like, I know this is weird, but I saw the end. I think it was the end of season 1 when he's with the Northern Water Tribe.
Yeah.
And, you kind of, I think it's the first time you see him go full Avatar mode, and he wipes out the Fire Nation fleet that's attacking. Like, I've seen that.
Spoilers.
For its How Old show? Yeah.
All right, JC, this is my one chance to give you some homework, okay? So I'm not going to say read the next 16 books of Wheel of Time. I'm just going to say watch at least the first 2 seasons of Avatar. You're going to want to watch the third by the time you get that far in, but
yeah. I've wanted to. Like, generally speaking, shows that have that big of a following, there's a reason behind it,
Usually. So, and then there's like Jersey Shore, and you're like, why?
Mm-hmm. Well, there was a reason behind that too. Some people like watching people like that so they can feel better about themselves.
Man, jeez.
Yeah.
Okay. What?
Anyway,
what were we talking about?
Any other questions, right?
I dropped my pen. I literally dipped out. All right. I think that's everything that I got. Awesome. I really appreciate your guys' feedback. That's the long and the short of it. So yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
All right.
And
Cue
have-
future JC.
Yep, I'm next.
Right.
Cue future me. Yep. Hey guys, future JC here. This week's was actually a repeat. Not a lot of context to give. Unfortunately, I was so pressed for time that I just kind of grabbed something, I edited a little bit, and sent back out there. Not an approach I'd recommend for writers groups. You genuinely want to give them something new. They didn't have a lot to say, I imagine, because, well, it wasn't new. It wasn't... I mean, it was edited, but it wasn't new, if you know what I mean. So, we'll see what they have to say. All right, let me have it.
I guess
there is.
I'll go first.
TIE Fighter?
Yep.
Okay.
TIE Fighter. Okay. I've never been called that. Yeah, so with this one being something we've critiqued, and this is now the third time, I don't have a ton to say. I like the changes you made. I put it into the same thing that I would use when one of my students gave me another draft of their essays, just so I could really quickly see the things that were different. It's called Diff Checker. Sponsored.
Nice. I need that. Diff Checker?
Yeah.
How do you spell that?
Diff, Diff Checker. And it's really nice because it highlights like what's different between the two documents.
Nice.
So I liked, that first paragraph. You did a little bit more world building, making it clear that there are elves and all sorts of crazy things in this world. So it grounds it really quickly into a fantasy setting, which is great. You fix the birthday problem, making sure that they don't all have the same birthday.
I was
something.
I was like, I read that and I was like, oh, whoops. It's like I knew it was supposed to be month. Like it was supposed to be the same birth month, and I was like, oh man, that was dumb.
It's believable to have like maybe two other people with the same birthday, but beyond that, I feel like it's a little.
That would be super interesting in a fantasy setting. It would raise a lot of questions about conception. Like, if they all had the same birthday.
And if you were like Professor Tolkien, JC, you wouldn't have fixed it. You would have changed the world to make it make sense.
Yeah,
you would have made it so people can only be born. If they're born in a month, they have to be born on this day. So that's what Tolkien would.
Yeah, honey, you don't change for anybody. Don't let nobody steal your sparkle.
Legitimately, like he would do that. Like he would bend over backwards. Like he would see something, a mistake, and he'd be like, "Not fixed it now." This is before it's even published. Like he could fix it, but
this is canon now.
This is canon, exactly.
That's funny.
I like another little change. It seems like it's suggesting that there's, and maybe this is like a really light suggestion. Maybe I'm reading too far into it, but it seems like there are more mages and they're becoming more powerful. Like more powerful mages are appearing, which is cool because I think in fantasy, you guys have probably seen, once there were dragons. There's so too many dragons. And you'll have you guys seen that? I don't know. Yeah,
it sounds really familiar, but I can't.
Who did I first hear it from? Probably Hello Future Me. Tim, if you guys haven't watched Hello Future Me on YouTube, you ought to. But I feel like there's usually a trope where either magic used to be more powerful, or it's becoming more powerful now. It feels like we're on that end of the spectrum where it's becoming more powerful. That's what you're thinking. Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's cool. We're already kind of getting, again, more world building, more deeper into the world, which is great. The biggest thing you changed was that little interchange between the jerk guy and Sarah. That was good. That was just good characterization. I like that. It didn't make like a massive difference for the plot or anything, but tells us exactly what kind of know-it-all Sarah is in a lot of ways. Yeah, other than that, I don't have a lot to say. There wasn't too much else different. I probably took all the things that were different. I don't know what Gray's gonna say, but
yeah, just suck the air right out of my lungs.
I realized I was like going through comment by comment. I should have left.
No, I for whatever reason I get really obnoxious with commenting on JCs because I usually do it first. So like all my pent up must critique use of comma like.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Out.
Sorry to interrupt. When I was working on Technomancer, literally, I'm lucky enough that I have extra monitors. I have I have Gray's on one monitor, mine in the middle, Tyler's on the other.
What
And
do you
I
have?
open up the two documents and I'm like, there are 30 comments over here on Gray's. And I scroll, there's Tyler's first comment.
Let me give our listeners a pro tip. This is what I do with your guys' YouTube. So I take the documents and I give it to ChatGPT. I'm like, hey, pull out all the comments and put all the comments onto one document for me. And then I can just go through the comments. And if it's something like I need to look at the text, I'm usually able to do like a control F and find what you're talking about. And I'm able to go through it so much faster than scrolling through 3 different documents at the same time. So that's my pro tip.
Yeah.
But do make sure your ChatGPT is checked, so it's not going to use this stuff for training. Probably will still use this stuff for training, but at least you made your
absolutely.
effort.
Yes. Yes.
So you can stand on your high horse when our stuff gets pirated. But it makes life so much easier if you do it like that.
Yeah.
All right. So first rabbit trail down. Go ahead.
That wasn't the first one. We've already talked about the avatars. All right.
True.
Okay, JC, if that is in fact your real name. So yeah, I figure I'll pick the bones clean and just go through like all 75 of my comments here.
Do all the grammatical stuff. That's going to be really interesting for our listeners.
Oh yeah. You bet your bottom dollar, comma. All right. So JC, I don't know.
Anyway.
Your brain melts when you work a 9-to-5 job and you like, yeah.
Yes.
Totally
Yes,
get
it does.
Okay, JC. So that first paragraph, Tyler already mentioned it, but I like the sprinkle of world building. For me, I could picture elves, little Keebler elves, like religious zealots. You describe it. It adds a little bit more spice, and that was welcome for me. I think overall in this document, there was nothing that you added that didn't make it better. I don't think you added something, or I was like, ooh, that's not going to work. So kudos to that. You're just in that refining process, and I don't mind going over again. Let's see. You do kind of, I know we had mentioned perhaps the lack of tension in this opening mage selection ceremony before. And so I think that's where this interaction with this annoying kid is coming from. So I enjoyed that interaction. I enjoy how you sort of introduce it to us with this little line here at the end of the preceding paragraph. I do remember what happened next quite vividly, I'm afraid. And so it's like, okay, just setting us up for the expectation that there's going to be a little bit of conflict, and you definitely deliver on that. I like the kids, the annoying kid, his grammar, like, I weren't talking to you, or I won't talk to you. Oi.
Yeah.
Apologize to our UK audience and our redneck audience.
Which we do have. We do have a UK audience. We probably have a redneck audience as well. But
we do have. It's Idaho. Okay. Yeah, I enjoyed their little interaction. Let's see. I like how Sarah seems to become more self-conscious, like little Sarah in the moment. Sarah at this age, elementary school age, seems to have become more self-conscious as a result of this interaction. Mm-hmm. She mentions that it she ended up on her backside, but it would not be the first time. She would literally or figuratively, fall on her backside as a result of kind of being a know-it-all. Like she's stepping on a rake kind of. Mm-hmm. And it introduces me to this idea. There's two sides of this coin, and maybe this is a bit of a trope, that Sarah is too intelligent or curious for her own good. And so some people are going to appreciate that, and some people are not. And it's going to make her friends and enemies. I like how you're just setting that up in just a tiny way here in this paragraph, or this little interaction here. Mm-hmm. So I appreciated that. Let's see. Oddly enough, there's something that I didn't catch or didn't strike me as dramatic in the previous version of the draft that now the third time through, I'm like, really enjoying this. So I don't know what kind of mood I was in. Mm-hmm. Father Joshua placed 3 hands of his right hand on her head and pointed with his left hand index finger upward. And that's kind of the symbol of the 13 gods. I think you added that in the second draft, not the first. And that's another little like cool visual thing that they do in the world. And from this point forward, if anyone does that gesture, you don't need to say it's the 13 gods. It's just like, that was so distinctive that it's already going to stick in my head. So I appreciated that. Let's see. I did catch, there's one paragraph in which you had the word father 3 times, and it was in separate uses. So she mentions the person's father, this other student. She mentions her father, as in father, capital F, proper noun. And then actually, it's the next paragraph. She mentions Father Joshua, like the priest, in his religious capacity. And all of those were proper uses of that word. But I think there might be a way to break it up. I'm not insisting that you call her daddy or papa, or, right? But there might be a way to just use a synonym for one of those instances to break that up. And it's probably just that conspicuous because this is a patriarchal society in which that term's naturally going to come up pretty often. So one of those kind of inherent problems of writing in just a very specific world. Let's see. I think I might appreciate just maybe a little bit more, not build up, but perhaps suspense when the priest introduces Mage James, her fellow student, because he's the first one who gets that honorific of mage. And she mentions specifically like that's what he's angling for. And I don't know if there should be audible gasping or something. Like there's already kind of that when Sarah's announced, so maybe not that, but like some sort of like, whoa, this is unusual. And that kind of ramps it up, and the expectation that, oh, if somebody scores above this kid, they're really, really doing it. They're really rolling in it. Just a suggestion. You don't necessarily have to do that. Yeah, for James. That's pretty much all I got. It was a good chapter overall. I mean, you just made it stronger than it was last time. Any questions for us, JC?
Not really. Like you guys said, this was the third time you've got this one. I do apologize for that. My week being what it was with revisions. But no, I'm glad that the things that I put in there worked. I was hoping they would answer some of the questions because that's one of the things that you guys pointed out a lot in Technomancer. There we go. I can talk. The fact that people were coming off as too amenable, right? And you were right. Like I went back and I would read those sections and I'd be like, yeah, there's no tension here. So going back and fixing that, I wanted to make sure that I start off on the right foot with Lost Souls, because it needs to be there. I'm trying to balance, because having read the Sorcerer's Stone again recently and really dissected it, it was a little too much conflict. I think a lot of times it felt really heavy-handed. Just
like too much Draco.
Too much Snape, too much Draco, too much Dursleys. Like, he doesn't get a chance to breathe in like the first half of the book. Like he's with the Dursleys for like the first half of the book, and it's like, okay, yeah, I get the point. They're terrible people. They treat him like crap. Okay, fine. But at the same time, I don't want it to be like Technomancer, where it's like, okay, these people are really nice. This is a little suspicious. So that's kind of what I'm going for is a happy medium between the two. So
yeah, I think it went really well.
Thank you. And next time you will get either chapters 5 and 6, or you'll get the first chapters of my other project. Depends on what my format puddled brain can handle.
I would like to see this chapter a fourth time. Just
I could be completely honest and say you will probably not see these two chapters ever again. I'm fairly happy with where they are right now.
Yeah, I think you polish them to the point where like you can still change things, but you'd just be changing things. Like
about the only way you would see them again is if it had been so long that I'm like, okay, this isn't a critique, this is a refresher, so you can critique what comes or something like that as a comparison. Because I mean, I felt bad throwing them out there. I was like, this is what I got. Here you go. So
I'm seeing so many people on TikTok and they're like on their 11th draft of their book, and I'm like, how are you forcing yourself to do that? Like that's a lot.
I would be sick of seeing my own work at that point.
Yeah, that whoa.
And unless like each draft is like a lot different. It's just like what Gray said. Like at a certain point, you're just changing things, and you can be refining prose. You can be doing those things. I don't know that really counts as a new draft, though. I feel like that's just revisions.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they mean by the 11th draft.
In the technical sense, you could say like, oh, I'm making this pass to just punch up the dialogue to make it more humorous. And this pass, I'm just looking at thematic elements. And in this pass, I'm looking at plot elements. And you could technically say those are all drafts if you want, but that's to go through it with that granular of a lens, I guess, it's just crazy.
I'd call it like a 2.5 draft.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it like a whole new draft.
Yeah.
That's just me. It's fine. We love you. It's all good. 11th drafters.
Yep.
Just don't drive yourselves too crazy.
Yeah.
Nuts.
You got to get to a point where you finish it and publish it.
Yes.
That's my whole story. Like I did Hero Unit. We've talked about how I did it. I did 50,000 words for NaNoWriMo that doesn't exist anymore. Refined it, and got to the point where I was like, if I don't publish this, I never will. And so I did. And I knew it wasn't perfect. I knew I didn't have the money, didn't know an editor. I didn't have a writer's group. My wife, at the time, didn't want to read it because it wasn't her genre. So I got done and I published it because it had to happen or I was never going to do it. And if I was to tell anybody, if you are on your 11th draft, publish the dang thing because it needs to get out there and you're never going to pull the trigger otherwise.
Yeah. That raises the question for me, JC. I know that your first Hero Unit book, it has a second edition where you went in and fixing. Did that second edition happen before the second book came out, or was it?
No. So
time?
It happened a year and a half ago. So what happened so I was on Hero Unit. I had published the first 4, and I was working on the 5th one, Revenge. And part of it was I switched my grammar software, and we'll talk about this at the end. But I switched softwares, and the new one worked a lot better. To the point that I was like, I really need to open up Hero Unit and do it all over again.
So it was like a grammar pass, not so much. Yeah.
And it was, so there was a grammar pass, but there was also there was a little bit of retroactive continuity that I had to fix. And I made brand new covers because the first 4 covers I had, people didn't pick them up. Like that's the big thing. Like when I came out with, and I want to again.
Wait, do people judge books by their covers?
Yeah, this cover, everybody picks up at the time. Everybody picked up this book. I had 6 books on the table. Everybody picked up this one first. And so I was like, I've got to do new covers. I did new covers. I was like, okay, well, I've got new covers. I'm going to do new books. So, yeah. So I redid the first 4. Some more like alternate. No, Fallout Book 3 didn't get a lot of change. For some reason, that one just went really, really well. Oh, yeah. So my loving wife very kindly went and got. So here, Unit 4.
Nice.
That's the first cover. And Hero Unit and all the others, the cover looks just like this. It's a different color. And the badge is different on the other ones. So this is its new cover.
Nice.
Yeah. I can see. Yeah.
So it was a big change, and it was a necessary change. So I don't think I will ever do a 3rd edition, but
should we describe your second cover for those that are listening and not watching?
Yeah, that's a good point. Not everyone watches this on YouTube.
Yeah. So this is first cover, cityscape background, got a police-looking badge. Because it's the 4th book in the series, The badge is different. I'm not going to say why. Spoilers. The second cover is similar color palette, but it's like two cities, a city reflected on itself. So
Picture the mirror dimension from Doctor Strange.
yes, that's exactly it.
Cool. Thank you for sharing that with us, that insight.
Yep. So yeah,
Cool.
cover makes a big difference. So if you're going to design it yourself, take the time to design it well. And if you're going to hire a cover designer, be willing to pay them for their time, because it makes all the difference. Because people pick up all of my books now, not just Runaway.
Yeah, that's good. And that goes for more than just books, of course. I mean, if we were really serious about, or had more money or more time, we would have like cool thumbnails for each episode, like on YouTube. Like we'd get a lot more.
Just
there.
JC with tearing off his shirt with the 6-pack, standing in front of a building on fire, and all of our giraffes sitting at his feet.
That would get some views.
That would get some views. The wrong kind of views.
Yeah.
Yes.
it would be like someone clicks on, and then they see that it's not what the video is, and then they would click off. But people would click on. Yeah, visuals. Even in our very literary, text-based world, visuals are super important for marketing.
For sure.
Yep.
Anyway,
all right.
For you guys. Yeah. JC, did you have any questions for us about your?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. You guys, basically, the one question I had was, did the little interaction, did the little fight work? Mm-hmm. Did it do what I wanted it to do? And it did. So there we go.
Yeah. Good. Okay, so we have saved the best for last. We have Tyler.
Yeah.
Yep. Cue future me. Hello, it is future me. Context for this week: I skipped a chapter that was Layla and Nan talking about Layla's dreams. Accidentally skipped it, but oh well. The two chapters I actually gave the guys was one chapter where Luke and AJ are talking over lunch about the spell book that AJ has procured, and he does a little scrying spell, and he finds out where the rider is hiding out. He is hiding out, as we learned in actually a previous chapter with Warren. Rider's spending a lot of time in the lake where nobody can get him. So they figure that they're going to go try and get him. And then the next chapter is that they're canoeing on the lake. They're looking. They're not finding him. AJ tries to cast a spell that raises a water spirit serpent creature. He misspeaks and doesn't give a clear direction, so it tries to kick them out of the lake instead of just kicking the rider out of the lake. Although it does seem like it does also kick the rider out of the lake at some point too, because they encounter the rider right after that. Tries to kill them. Some good conversations between Luke and AJ. Not anything ground-shakingly powerful with their conversations, but we're seeing AJ use the spellbook more. We're seeing the plot progressing. Enjoy, guys.
All right. JC, do you want me to go first, or you want to?
I think it is your turn to go first, Jay. Gray.
Yep.
Jay, Gray. All right, sweet. All right. I'd help if I had the correct document open. Man, what a broken record I am. The record was broken by me, passive voice. All right, so are you frozen, or are you just? Oh, the look of disgust is just permanent.
No, I think I skipped a chapter. And I gave what section did I give you guys this week?
Chapter 26 and 27. The AJ Luke.
I skipped chapter 25.
Whoops.
It's not a crazy important one.
That's funny.
Like, it's important, but it's not crazy important.
I didn't even look at the chapter numbers, so.
Neither did I, apparently. I was just finding in my manuscript where we were, and I was like, oh. It was an interaction between between Layla and Nan. Layla was actually talking to Nan about her dreams and giving some advice. Have you what's it called? The Bechdel's test?
Bechdel test? Yeah, It's a farce. Trust me.
It's a farce. I thought I would do it just in case, you know.
Yeah.
And it was a good scene. Like I think it's still a good scene, but it's for those of you who don't know, where two females are talking and they're not talking about the main male character.
Right.
Right?
That's
another rabbit trail.
Yeah. Here's a fun rabbit trail, and I'm gonna get reamed for this one, but if certain people watch it. The Bechdel
for the
test
record, JC does not speak for all of us.
Yeah.
You folks at home, write your hate mail to JC.
So it's based off of a comic that was written in the 80s by a female comic artist, where there's two women talking about going to the movies, talking about, what characters in movies. And one of them says, I have a test. And she lays out the parameters of her test to see if a movie is good or not, or feminist or not, or whatever. I don't even remember because it's been so long. Anyway, and she ends it, and everybody skips the end, talking about going to a movie basically where the guy in the poster is shirtless. And the creator of the comic has said, this is a stupid test. This is a joke. I made it up to point this hypocrisy out. And people have taken it as this like gold standard of, if you have women in your book and they interact, they have to meet this standard, or in your movie especially, or otherwise it's a bad standard. And I'm like,
oh, does this supposed standard mean that they shouldn't be discussing male characters? They should be discussing their own lives. They shouldn't be discussing romantic endeavors. They should come across as independent in the course of the conversation, referencing only their own ambition. That's kind of dumb. People are people, and our characters should reflect people being people. And
to be fair, with my scene that I did write to pass the Bechdel test, it does make sense that Layla would go to Nan.
Yeah, that's
to talk about her dreams.
That's the funny thing. Like, I wonder how many times we've gotten weird off-kilter interactions in books and TV and movies because people are trying to meet this arbitrary standard that the person who wrote the comic says is an arbitrary. It was a joke. Like, I'm setting you up for a joke, and you missed the joke entirely. And so, yeah, I'm probably going to, like I said, feminists are going to come after me for that if they ever hear me saying it. And you know what? I don't care.
Leave them in the comments, people. Yeah. Leave comments on our videos.
Yeah. It's so
I'm
interesting.
Happily married, and
apparently Tyler's a feminist, and JC is a fierce anti-feminist. So
I mean,
I'll just moderate.
That's interesting, though. I didn't know the history of that. I just had heard it. Yeah. Like, oh,
yeah.
I didn't feel like I needed to bend over backwards, but there was like a chance to do it.
And like, I get the idea that yes, there are often. And it's the trope of the male writer writing the female character. Yep. I don't know if you've ever read some of those descriptions of what it's like when a male writer writes a female character. And as a guy who all of my main characters are women, like, I look at it and I'm like, yeah, I there's some male writers that really suck at making women more than just their physical.
Her thighs were like two heaving sacks of flour pouring into
something
the bakery.
Like that.
That was my desire. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it makes sense that you want to run a pass, but I have my wife read everything I write. And if she comes up with something awkward that I need to fix, she lets me know. And so do I want to have to meet everybody's you have to do this standard? No. But I do think it's interesting that you brought up the Bechdel test, Tyler. I was wondering if it was ever gonna show up, because again, all female characters practically in my book. So,
and even as I'm reading the test, like she does mention Warren, but it's not like the focus of their conversation. I don't know if I properly passed it or not. But anyway,
yeah.
I don't know if I'm ever gonna send the scene to you guys now that we're just out of order now. But just let me explain a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, obviously Layla, I've already said that Layla goes to Nan. Nan basically tells her that this is really weird. That it's not something that she would have expected to see. Even with people who have, like, Fey blood, like, it's not it's also not something that should work when the gate is closed, which I haven't actually figured out the mechanics of how it does work with the gate is closed. But I wanted to make it seem odd and strange that Layla has this ability.
If it's odd to your characters, then you get a pass. You know, you bought yourself time to come up with a reason.
Yeah, and then I do. This isn't the proper definition of closed door romance, but I have Layla text Warren and be like, "Hey, want to hang out?" And they're like, he's like, absolutely. So I like I'm intimating that there is romantic, not romantic activities, but romantic activities. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're going on a date or they're hanging out and their relationship is progressing, even if I'm not a skilled enough romance writer to show it very well. Anyway,
maybe you should have that scene when Kim is able to be. Maybe she'll be able to help you.
Does this pass the romance smell test?
Yeah.
Anyway, I apologize. My mistake. Good rabbit trail. Tear me apart.
No, that's super interesting. All right, that's funny because now that you brought up the fact that we're apparently missing some context, I was gonna give you some points. I'm like, oh, I like how you alluded to this thing without spelling it out. But we'll get there.
Okay.
Okay. So the couple of chapters that you sent us, of course, were a series of interactions between Luke and AJ, who I'm just now realizing we don't actually have many one-on-one interactions within the book. Yeah, everything is kind of implied, their previous friendship and the fact that things are thrown off kilter by Warren's introduction into their friend group. So I like to be able to see them just hanging out like without the rest of the gang. And of course, the big elephant in the room, which Luke is unaware of, is the fact that AJ has stumbled across this magic tome, which is seemingly evil. And I like how you kind of say without saying the fact that it's obviously affecting his behavior. We've mentioned this before, but whenever Luke is the voice of reason in the room, things aren't going great. But you give both of these characters some time to shine in these interactions. So I'll just go through it a little bit. Oh, actually, your first paragraph, I dinged you. He opened his Tupperware of leftover stew and started slowly eating. That is the most boring verb ever, slowly eating. So you can come up with something meatier. I know that you can.
Fair enough.
Okay, let's see. Also, when AJ, he pulls the book out of his backpack and says, "This was calling to me." I'm like, that's kind of on the nose, but that might be what you're going for. All right. I love AJ's overreaction when Luke touches the book. He kind of like recoils, like, yes, not quite to that extent, but I love that. That just shows us the fact that they're connected. It's weird. It's creepy. When they mention the basilisk leather, my mind was like, you mean like from Harry Potter? And then Luke says the very next line, like from Harry Potter. So that was awesome. You're making these guys feel like teenagers in their age group. I think I had a point later on, and I don't think you're in any danger of it here, mentioning a specific property like Harry Potter, because Harry Potter, I think, is going to be, it's in the water, right? Like everyone from our generation and the preceding generation and the next 3 generations is going to know and have some sort of emotional attachment to that property. Yeah. So that's awesome. When they talk about ChatGPT later, I was kind of curious. I was thinking if there's a possibility that you might be dating yourself with mentioning this particular large language model. Like don't get me wrong, it felt on point. Like the kids in my youth group are always talking about referencing chat for something, right? Not ChatGPT, just chat, because they can't be bothered to recite the extra syllables. But I'm like, that's interesting. I don't know if in 5 years, like if it loses market share and people may be like, oh, that was like that one thing, like MySpace, and that could age badly, potentially. I don't know, something to think about. Okay, so when you keep kind of making these oblique references, at least here, to Layla being sick, and they're like, "What's going on with her?" She's sick, and I took it as an implication, like off screen, like, "Oh, stuff is happening. She's reacting from that bad dream," which is interesting because apparently that's exactly what's happening. Like she's seeking counsel on that. But I always kind of love those like reading between the lines moments because we know more than the characters know. So that was cool. I love the fact that AJ has a large sewing needle as a bookmark. Before you even mentioned what he's doing with the sewing needle, I was like, that's so AJ. That's perfect. Like, he's just a little bit eclectic, a little bit academic. You know, he would just grab whatever's on hand. And because he lives where he lives with Nan, he's going to have this. You know, that's before he even uses it to draw blood from himself to cast demon magic. Fey magic. Let's see.
Depending on your view of folklore, sometimes it would be considered the same thing.
Yeah, true. That's a whole nother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All sorts of lore there.
All sorts. I don't know. AJ's just doing very un-AJ like things when he tries to look, when they're looking through the magic mirror. I'm like, AJ would have some compunctions about doing something that could potentially be reckless and that could be traced back to them, right? So all this is great. You're saying without saying that AJ is totally off kilter. And the fact that even Luke's clinging into it is great. I had a lot less to say when we get to the following chapter with the water dragon thing. That was awesome, by the way. I remember you telling us months ago, like off camera, hey, I need an idea for like a lake monster. So it's cool to see that come to fruition, and I think you did that expertly.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then when Luke is like telling him, like, you should see the things, like, wait till you know what I ordered with my dad's credit card. Like, that is such a teenage boy thing to do. And it also gives you a Chekhov's gun of sorts. Like, I pictured this being like chapters after the fact. Like when someone shows up with a bazooka, we'll have an explanation. We're like, credit card, like internet.
Luke, you know.
Yeah. And I would be totally willing to buy almost up to the level of a rocket launcher, but yeah. I love how you end it with that suspense as they are met with that imminent threat. I love how they are, even while they're going about all their stupid shenanigans in the middle of the lake, like, should we really be doing this? Like, didn't we get into trouble and something really bad happened last time we tried to go out on our own? What could go wrong? Like, yeah, it just clues us in once again to the fact that Luke is Luke and AJ is not AJ in this chapter. And I love their interactions, and I love that fact as well. Okay. What about you, Mr. JC?
So overall, I really liked it. It read really well. The funny thing is I also had a note on the very first paragraph. You say he sat down at their lunch table, and I'm like,
oh, sat. That's a bad word.
He's it. Not that it's a like normally
it works, to say sat down.
It works just fine, but at the
mediocre.
same time, it's he looks like hell. He's bleary-eyed and tired and slumped, flopped,
plopped,
dropped. That's
stopped,
all.
Dropped,
like,
rolled.
The funny thing is the slowly eating fit for me, which is hilarious. But anyway, I like like Gray is saying, AJ is not AJ, and you are really good at showing that, and also showing his ability, because of the influence of the book, to just go, meh. I'm ignoring that. I'm brushing that off. I'm moving past that. Like all of the things a person does when their personality is changing due to an outside influence of X. Like he comes across kind of like a drug addict. You know, he's brushing things off. He's moving past things. He's justifying things, and it's, I think, the perfect behavior for him, given this, you know, the influence that the book is having on him. The one thing I will say, just as an overall set dressing, they're in a high school cafeteria, I'm assuming, is where it doesn't read, like you say, lunch table, but there's nothing else to dictate other students' noises, cafeteria noises. You know, we all went through high school. We know what a cafeteria is like. And then how do people, like, I don't know how far gone you want AJ to appear, but how are other students reacting to AJ not being AJ? You know, that's about the only thing, just as like I said, set dressing.
Like, what would you suggest, JC? Like, somebody looks at him and like, oh, you look like a zombie. Like,
yeah, like I don't know what kind of interactions he has with other students because we've rightly so been focused on the Scooby Gang, but
Mm-hmm.
mentioning the cafeteria noise and how maybe somebody went to sit down but saw AJ and thought better of it. Maybe AJ
I
has
like that.
yeah, maybe AJ has a classmate that slaps him on the shoulder. Hey, you doing okay? As he walks past, that kind of stuff. Or, oh man, you look like crap. Joking kind of thing. Because
Just
all
walks
of
away.
my guy friends, if I came to school looking like that, my guys on the wrestling team, man, you look like hell. That would be the first things out of their mouth. Not, hey, are you doing okay? It would be to make fun of me, and that's again, I don't know if AJ might not necessarily have that kind of rapport with his his fellow students, but at the same time, adding some kind of detail along those lines might help. Um, Again, the Layla mentions, like Gray said, love it. I like the imagery that you put in the book when he drops the blood, how it swirls, and the description of the text. That was good job.
Thank you.
So this is one of those things that it's not like I look at it and I'm like, this makes absolute sense, but it points out a flaw in the attitude of the adults. They think they can take on the writer. Like they're legitimately at the point where like, yeah, we could take this guy on. Whereas Nan, Isaac, Starnes, Bradley, none of them. Like, Isaac has said that he's willing to take on the writer when he knows where the hounds are, but none of the others have really suggested that they are willing to do that. And yet here's AJ and Luke, just because they've got a magic book and have cast one spell. Yeah, we can take on the writer. And it's that teenage idea of invincibility, and that the warnings of the adults aren't heeded because they're just warnings. There's no examples necessarily. And I like that you have that, because it's an important thing for teenagers to make those kinds of mistakes, because they would. I would have. And then you follow up with Hern the Hunter, which is a real name from folklore. I recognized it, but it's the writer's name. And I'm like, you mentioned the hunter, and then you call the writer a hunter. And I don't know if there's a way around it, but it's something to make sure your readers that are reading too fast don't get confused.
That's a good point.
Maybe just have Luke say, man, it's weird that they call him Hern the Hunter, but he's not the hunter. Kind of idea, just to make that separation.
Yeah. Or I could just like call him King Hern.
Yeah, that's another way of
doing
doing it. Yeah. Yeah. On the addition of the potato gun, is 100%. I don't know a single high school guy that hasn't either participated in or built their own potato gun.
That was great. That grounded it.
Yes.
That's how they think they're going to beat the writer. They think they're going to knock him off of his horse with the potato. Which I love that. I have established at this point. Maybe I should say my questions, but I have established at this point that if Hern gets off of his horse, he dies. Has that come across? Do you remember that?
Well, because Bradley and his son were trying that strategy when they first intercepted, like not a harpoon, but they were. I forget what they were doing.
Basically a harpoon.
Okay.
Should I hit on that again before?
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, I would give one because to me, I'm thinking that like he never gets off his horse ever. So to me, that is the, and I can't English anymore.
Well, that's it, folks. We cannot continue the podcast. JC can no longer English.
The word I'm going for is completely gone. I have no idea. Anyway, you're hinting at the fact. You're establishing that fact without directly saying that fact. But I think at this point, saying it needs to be said out loud. I like your description of the smell of wet clay and pine needles around the lake, because I was like, oh, that brings back so many memories for me. So, Um, that I like how they're contemplating the dead in the lake, because it never fails. When I was hanging out with my buddies and we were camping, it always went to dark, macabre topics because we were in a creepy atmosphere, and that's just where your mind goes. So
And it gives you an excuse to talk about the history of the town in a very natural way.
Yes. There is, so we know that AJ brings the book with him, but I think you might want to have him check the book itself like once or twice during the canoe ride, just to give him that nervous tick, Got to check the book. And again, you put in this. I tried to catch her after school Monday, and she brushed me off. Like, okay, what's going on with Layla? And since we missed a chapter, we don't know. But it's important because it keeps Layla in the story at this point. Like, she has weird dream. Warren confirms, yes, weird dream was real. And now we're going through a bunch of scenes where we don't see her for a little bit, but these little references and these ideas keep her top of mind. So we don't forget that she's there, and that there are things going on with her too outside of, like, you're keeping us up on the B plot, as it were.
Have you tried since you have different POVs, I feel like there's a few sections in which you could almost slide things around into different order and play around with that order. Like, try even putting the Layla POV after these chapters and see how it feels. I don't know.
You'll see why I haven't done that in this instance next week, but because you'll see her, she's the next POV after this, and it's important that she is where she is.
So I like you throw in another really great justification from AJ. What can I say? When you can do magic, scary things aren't as scary. He's done a handful of spells, and all of a sudden he's not afraid of the writer anymore. But that's the kind of things that you would expect from a book like this, and that kind of obsession. So yeah, I just like Luke as a character, as you establish him here, it flows really well with the character that you've established him. He's just kind of like, okay, AJ, yeah, I'll jump in the water of the drowned town and hit the bell for you. Sure, no problem. I trust you, AJ. Like, he has zero reason not to trust his best friend and sort of his surrogate big brother, because now that we know that his dad, he doesn't have a great relationship apparently with his parents, AJ makes way more sense now, and Luke's ability to trust him makes even more sense. And I'm wondering when the shattering of the trust is going to happen. Is it this? Is it later on? Because it feels like that's something that's
really sad that you think that's coming, JC.
It feels like a natural progression because of what you're setting up here. But I mean, it's your story.
Maybe book 2. We'll see.
Maybe book 2, yeah.
Doesn't happen this one.
And that's fun. Like, that's, again, it's like the idea of the Luke POV not being necessary in this book. Mm-hmm. It's just not. And a scene where Luke's trust is broken by AJ isn't necessarily necessary in this book. Anyway, yeah,
you're totally right there. Like, that would be such a powerful arc to write.
Yeah,
because they are such, like, I think I've established them as really, really, really good friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll have to think about that. I don't want to write that, but I might have to.
And that's the thing. Like, you look at this book to use gaming terms. AJ is like, he's the leader of the party. Luke is the barbarian. He can't read, essentially. He doesn't do magic. He's just a human, but he is gung-ho and ready to do anything that the party leader asks. And one of the best ways to make a character like that grow is shatter his view of his leader. And it doesn't have to, like, you don't have to make AJ into, like, he doesn't have to summon a demon or something like that. But if his mistakes
I
pile
mean,
up,
he kind of did.
yeah, yeah. If his mistakes pile up, and again, your book, your world. But if AJ made a mistake that got Layla hurt, that would break Luke's trust immediately.
JC's just full of good ideas on how to hurt your characters, not how to hurt his characters.
No, he is. And I'm thinking about what happens, and I'm thinking about, because stuff happens.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to get Luke's POV. We're not even going to get Luke. I mean, I don't want to spoil too much, but after this little escapade, Luke is going to be kind of taken out of commission for a while.
Well, the sniper, I remember you mentioning that.
Sniper. Some Isaac in the woods. But now I'm thinking about book 2. And guys, I am so much more excited about book 2 than I am about writing my Reaper book. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I have been struggling to get into my Reaper book. But no, that makes me think a lot. Where's my notebook?
That's actually interesting. I was thinking about AJ's character arc, and I kind of like non-traditional character arcs where you can have a character who's pretty static for almost the whole book and then has like a leap, towards the tail end. I don't know if that's what's happening with AJ right now, because it seemed like he was a pretty steady character throughout most of the events of this book. And I don't mind the fact that like only now does this coincide with the plot where he's having this kind of what I assume is going to end up being a breakdown of some sort.
Yeah. Let's see here. You want me to wait to write that so you can write that down? So you don't.
I'm good. You can go. Okay. I can listen to it really well. I was a teacher. I know how to take notes.
Just checking. Not everybody can do that. Let's see. Okay. I love the detail of the fish swimming through the water snake.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, of course, because a fish would do that. We don't ever see it. I love it. I like that you, I could have swore did I not? Oh yeah. I like the fact that when Luke gets out of the water, he can't hear because sound waves travel through water so much wow, I'm going to roll tonight.
More powerfully.
Yes.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I did the research on this one. This is another one I had like, what would a bell underwater actually sound like?
Yeah.
So that I could do not that.
Yeah.
I think that was actually a comment I had. Like, did you research this? And I just,
Yeah.
You can't find pretty good videos about it. Like, I looked really hard and I didn't find any like good videos of bells ringing underwater, which you'd think there would be more of. But
why doesn't the government want you to know what bells underwater sound like?
I didn't catch it the first time on the read through, but I caught it. I saw in the second. It's like, oh, AJ was vague on his wording. That's a problem. Don't vaguely word spells in folklore because you will always lose. So that, like, I was like, the first time when I just did the first blush, I didn't catch it, but yeah, it's a good detail. I'm glad you put it in there. So one of the things, just something to consider, simply because I know this simply because of where I grew up. Lakes have to have an inlet and an outlet, or they go stagnant really fast. In Lake County, there's Lake Abert. It's an alkaline lake, big, huge alkaline lake. Water comes in, doesn't have anywhere really to go out, and so almost nothing can live in it except for brine shrimp. So again, something to consider. A brief mention of a river from the lake through town or whatever, just to give that. And another thing, how high up in the mountains are they? Like, do you have a rough idea of the elevation?
Not really.
So something to consider. And I know this because of scout camp where I went to Boy Scout camp. Crescent Lake is in the mountains in Oregon, really high up, fed primarily by the snowpack of Diamond Peak. So when we would do the polar bear plunge, I never did because of asthma, but they would occasionally have to get ice off the lake. in the summer, in the dead of summer. So the water is probably clearer than you think, and it's so much colder. But again, Luke grew up here, so he's probably used to it. Just as a point of reference, something to consider.
They're probably not that high, I guess. However high they are, they're not that high.
Like 4,000 feet
again,
versus whatever.
Yeah, and that's fine. So in the rescue scene, I liked the rescue scene. Luckily, Luke knew what he was doing because of lifeguard, because of ROTC, because of Boy Scouts, because of fill in blank. Why does he know? Because you did it. Like, that's exactly how you do it. Not everybody knows that. Usually that's a trained thing, and most people get that training from somewhere.
Yeah. And it wasn't intentional that I had Luke saving a drowning person twice in this book, but it did happen. And
It happened.
Probably good that it happens.
Yeah.
One of those intuition, happy coincidences.
Yes. Because it fits, like I said, it fits his gung-ho barbarian-esque personality that we get throughout this book of he's always there for his friends, he's always there for the fight, he's always there to clean up. And it just fits. It's just a really good flow, and it's the beginning of his arc, as it were. It's the foundation of his arc for whenever you get the chance to put that in. Don't have. So my ending comment is, actions have consequences should be the title of this whole section. Because we're seeing the unintended consequences of Starn's decision to give the book to Nan. We're seeing the unintended consequences of AJ opening the book. We're seeing the consequences of teenage hubris. And like I said, there's a couple of awkward phrasings and places that I noted, but otherwise it went really well. It flowed really well. You are setting up a heck of an ending, whatever it's going to be, because there's lots of forces at play, and it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. So
there were so many moving pieces for the ending of this book.
Yeah, you've got quite the complex machine going, but you're running it well right now. So
appreciate it. I guess my main question, my main concern with these two chapters is I'm wondering if I need I've been feeling, and it's been part of the feedback I got from my page readers, I should have something in between these two sections. Like, I shouldn't just go from like, oh, we're gonna go do this, and then suddenly they're doing this. Maybe some kind of section in between.
So my question there would be, since we didn't get chapter 25, could you move 25 in between these two? You know your structure better.
Yeah.
Does that work? Does it not? If not, maybe we get another mom POV. Maybe we get a random Nan POV. I don't know. We don't have a Nan.
I don't know if I'll. it's like I mean, you guys keep comparing her to Gandalf.
Yeah.
Gandalf, we don't really get his point of view. Like, we get like an outside perspective on Gandalf the whole time for kind of a good reason. So I don't know if I'm ever gonna have.
No,
maybe I could write like a prequel, and it could be a Nan's, but I don't know.
Yeah,
that could be
prequel
cool.
Would be cool. That'd be the place to do that.
Yeah. No, just I think. Yeah, thinking about it now, my initial impression, one of the things I thought was reading these two together in a flow felt weird. And you mentioning it now, it's like, yeah, that felt weird.
Should have been something in between. I need to figure that out.
Between.
I'm glad you guys are saying that you're picking up on AJ's Lord of the Ring-esque corruption a little bit, because that was another thing for my beta readers that I tried to fix, was that it didn't make sense why AJ was acting this recklessly. So I tried to bring that vibe forward. From what you guys have said, it feels like I fixed that. Yeah.
And And Tyler, this is probably going to muddy the waters a little bit, but I enjoyed reading those 2 chapters back to back. I enjoyed the pacing of that. I'm reading a lot of Jim Butcher right now, and in Codex Alera, there are many instances in which he'll have 2 POV chapters back to back, like the setup and then the follow through, and that's exactly what you're doing here. So it doesn't, not to say that you couldn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I have any other questions. We're getting down to it, guys.
Yeah. No, I can tell.
Exciting.
I can tell.
There is 6 more chapters. 8 more chapters.
Nope, man, I'm gonna have to wait like 2 years to get my signed copy.
Yeah.
I'm considering if I need to pull a JC and not give you guys the end of the book.
I really wanted you guys to read all of Technomancer because I liked the ending. I was able to, but I mean, I had to get it done.
No, totally good. So. There's also like we haven't been super concerned about spoilers, just because we're not like super famous and not like a ton of people are listening to us, and so there's still plenty of people to buy our books. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I might not have us record feedback for sure the actual ending,
and that makes
totally
sense.
Understand, but you'll at least have to send us the chapters
for sure. Or you guys do have access to like I have already shared this Google Doc.
Yeah.
You guys have never read ahead, which is totally fine. I totally get it. But, yeah, I do really want to get your guys' thoughts on the ending of this book.
All right. Well, winding us down to any other questions?
Not for me, but one of our viewers on YouTube, yes. As I've already mentioned, Draclian left us some really good questions. We could probably cover it all here. We are not even nowhere close to our longest episode, especially since I'll be cutting about 15 minutes off of this recording because it was our beginning. Our pre-episode BSing. But questions. The first question is, what do you guys use for writing tools-wise? For example, Microsoft Word, Scrivener, Google Docs, secondary questions, and then second part of that question, what tools do you use for giving feedback to each other? So,
yeah. Go ahead, Jesse.
Okay.
You look like you're about to.
Yeah. So I am boring. I use Word. Because it does everything I need and nothing I don't. The only other addition I do is I pay for Pro Writing Aid, yearly subscription, and it's got its flaws. Every grammar software out there has its flaws. So buy the one that works the best for you. I was using a different one, Grammarly. Grammarly is probably better for writing emails, not for writing books. I'm going to be completely honest with you. For example, Grammarly never caught this. As soon as I opened up Pro Writing Aid, caught it immediately. I tend to use a lot of British versions of words. Grammarly didn't pick up on it. Pro Writing Aid picked up all of them. The big one, toward and towards.
I think about that one a lot. Like every time I'm writing, I use it. I'm like, oh, this is the American way. JC says.
Yep.
What's the American way? Drop the S. Toward.
Yep.
Nice.
Another one that I didn't realize: leaped and leapt. Leapt is British or European.
So much better. Oh.
Yeah, and to me, it lets me know, okay, if this is getting flagged as the UK variant in Lost Souls, for example, I'm not going to add the extra U's into random words, but I will use the UK variants of different words in order to give that different vibe. But yeah, those are my two big ones: Word and Pro Writing Aid.
And I will say for our listeners, don't worry too much about using the British words if you're not British. Obviously, again, we do have a few UK listeners. Your editor or you should just focus on making sure that you're consistent. Like if you're using toward, I shouldn't be using towards. If you're using color with a U, you should consistently use color with a U. And that's just something... Mm-hmm.
Especially with regard to measurements. If you're using the metric system in one section of the book, do not use miles, do not use pounds. Somewhere else in your book. Make that consistent, even if it's a fantasy measurement.
If you're writing nonfiction, you probably just should use both, or have like the other system in parentheses. Yes. I encountered that quite a bit as I was editing some nonfiction books. Okay, Gray, what do you use?
All right, I'm also fairly vanilla, so I just use Microsoft Word. That's what we use here amongst our writing group. I think a lot of it was just because it's vanilla because it's common, and because it's common, it's universal almost. Like everybody knows what Microsoft Word is. Everybody in the industry pretty much expects you to send them a document in Microsoft Word, is my understanding. Not to say that people don't use Google Docs, and that was one consideration. I think we tossed back and forth briefly, but it's just easy. Like JC said, it's your one-stop shop for a lot of basic functions. You have spell check. I make use of the thesaurus way too often as I'm writing. Stop thesaurus. For leaving comments, I know one thing I try to make sure that I do every time I go to critique one of their documents is to make sure that I hit track changes, so that if I go to highlight a word, or if I see an extra indentation or a space somewhere, I'm like, okay, I can get rid of that, and it'll flag it, and it'll show them that, in red, that I did something. And that way, if it was intentional for whatever reason, or they reject that change, it's, easy peasy. And it's easy to use. I know there's actually a great website I can recommend called Critique Circle, which essentially has the functionality of what we're doing in this group built into its online structure. So basically, you hop online and you go into whatever your genre is, and you kind of look around, and people will post their work. Obviously, everything's on the honor system, that you're not going to take it, plagiarize it, put it into AI. You have to sign something, but there's a certain level of trust. And you are required to critique a certain number of pieces before you're allowed to submit something to be critiqued. And as you go along, you can kind of collect partners that you enjoy working with. And the structures, it's actually very much like the layout of Word in terms of composition, where you leave column or comments that kind of show up in the right-hand margin so that it doesn't obstruct your work area. I can't remember what the track changes interface looks like, but anything that someone's doing to your document, it's all native to that website. And I think there's an option to export it into Word too, which is another great reason that, everybody supports Word, right? You can export into a Word document, a .doc, and from there you can export into a PDF or whatever you need to do. As far as formatting, I've only done that for short stories so far, and I just use Atticus, which, just because it's simple, it's basic. I don't know how to use, Adobe InDesign and all of that at this point in my career, and I don't really have a need to. I'm not putting, maps and everything into my book quite yet, and all these kind of illustrations mid-book or anything like that. But that's pretty good for Windows users. And then I have heard great things about Vellum for Mac users. I apologize if you are using Apple. I'm so sorry. Yeah. No, you guys think you're the master class if you're using an Apple, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much my workflow. How about
I do actually use Google Docs for drafting. I spent too much time wrestling with Microsoft Word and OneDrive's autosave feature to trust it. And there was one time I lost way too much work. And so I was like, I'm going to do something that consistently autosaves and you can, yeah. And like, I don't have any real complaints about Google Docs. It does have a lot of the same functionalities as Google Docs. When it does come to editing, I don't like editing other people's stuff in Google Docs because of that live feature. I did make the mistake of editing one book in Google Docs, and the author would get a notification every time I did something. Oh. It's also just kind of annoying to have that live feature. Like, sometimes I'll make a change, come back to it, change it a different way, or just do away with the change because I saw that it was fine. I didn't need to change it. So it's nice to have that. Author sends me the stuff. I work on the stuff. I get the stuff really good. I send it back rather than you'd think the collaboration would be really good, but it really is not. For longer stuff, at least, I can see it working better for shorter stuff. I've never used Scrivener. I've heard good things about Scrivener. I think I downloaded the free trial version or something once upon a time, but I don't think I ever used it because it was too many buttons and boxes and stuff, and I didn't want to mess with it. I have used Campfire to hold some information, which has saved my butt on this project a few times. I haven't used it consistently. Like I look back at the information was from a long time ago when I was writing a different story, basically like this story, but a different version of the story. Having something like that to have like a character Bible can be really good. Obviously, you don't have to pay for anything to have a character Bible. You can just have a spreadsheet or whatever. And then for our critiques of each other, we just use, like these guys have said, we just use Word because it has really good features in that direction.
Yeah. The fact that you can turn on track changes and it'll differentiate between whose changes are what, and you can accept or deny it. Again, I mean, problems with Microsoft as a corporation aside, the Office suite of programs works really well. Like Tyler was mentioning, I use Excel for my character Bible, and it works really well because I can get all the relevant details that I want in a consistent format really quickly. And
I might ask you to send me a template if you're
well. I was about to say, if you want to see, I could bring it up and screen share.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
All right,
and we'll have to describe it for once again for those.
Yeah, our audio people.
There's a bunch of boxes and squares with numbers in a grid formation.
Yeah, I will go with my hero unit.
Well, while you're getting that up, JC, if someone in the comments wants to tell us more about Scrivener, like I said, I've heard about it. I know a lot of pretty big name authors do use it. I'd be interested to see hear what your perspectives on it are. Is it worth it? I don't even know how expensive it is. I imagine it's not nothing to get like the best version of it, but
I tend to go for things that I can make as a one-time purchase versus a subscription for sure.
Yeah.
And that's one thing with Pro Writing Aid. It has two options: yearly subscription or one-time purchase, and they run sales a lot. So this is my character Bible for hero unit. So I've got at the top, scroll all the way over here. Come on, do it. Oh, it's because I'm clicking on the wrong thing. Come on, over here.
This is really detailed.
Right. Yeah. So character. So again, this is hero unit. So we have their aliases, their hero names, what book they showed up in first, gender, classification, generation, registered status, which doesn't come up a lot in Technomancer, but basically when you hit 21 in hero unit, you can pick to register or not. If you register, you can use your powers outside of your home, but the EED can call on you and say, we need your powers in this situation, and you have to respond. And you get paid for it. It's not free. You get paid for it. But you have to respond, and you fall under the authority of the EED for that moment. But if you're an unreg, you can use your powers in your own home, on your private property, but outside of that, you can't.
So this document is very specific to you in this world of hero unit, because I see weaknesses also, which is a very comic booky kind of thing.
Yeah, giving it away. There's Ace's weakness right there.
Really, that's interesting.
Oh. Actually, it's not as detailed as it should be. It's actually worked obsidian. Like, she could pick up an obsidian rock and be fine. But if somebody had carved it into a knife, they could cut her with it.
That's cool. I mentioned I just read The Will of the Many, and obsidian is strangely important in that world.
Obsidian's one of those things that's had a lot of importance. And then, of course, you get the character descriptions.
So what what I was curious about. Do you feel like you have enough room in those cells to write the full description?
Yeah.
JC, you probably ought to include one for birthdays.
Yeah, that's in my
Maybe
timeline
had a-
document. Yes.
Okay.
So, and then if
I
you
remember
look
you.
at, yeah, if you look at the bottom, so hero unit, power, fallout, alternate, revenge, short story that I did, another, so prequel, and then another short story. I have all of these tabs that are just book to book. So if I need a character that is in hero unit to show up somewhere in revenge or in book 6, whenever that starts, I can just grab their descriptor, copy and paste it into the next file and not have to rewrite it, worry about losing it. And then I can add the relevant new details that might show up later. So that's my preferred way of doing it.
And you could organize those columns with characters alphabetically or however you see fit, huh?
Yep.
Pretty
Generally, mine are always in order of appearance because as soon as the character shows up, they go into this document. Usually. I'm going to throw that caveat out there. There's definitely a usually.
I like that some of them, their weakness is being dead.
Yeah. Yep.
That does tend to be a weakness,
Yep.
except for Jesus.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Yep.
Or Obi-Wan.
Yeah, or Obi-Wan.
Yeah, First Ghost. Yeah.
Yep. So there you go. That's how I use. And there were a lot of characters in that one. And the funny thing, like, it looks like there's a lot of characters, but some of these people were just mentioned or showed up for a scene. But I put them in there because I wanted to make sure that I kept it consistent if I mentioned it later in the series. So yeah, that's what I do.
Awesome.
Cool. I don't know if we provide enough visual descriptions for our listeners.
Yeah.
But it's a spreadsheet. It has attributes as the top row, characters, all that. Yeah, you know what a spreadsheet looks like. Anyway.
Yep. I do also, shameless plug, have a YouTube video where I do this, where I set up one of these for people to kind of get a rough idea of what it's like. So
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah. To our 20-some subscribers on YouTube, they should go also subscribe to JC's YouTube channel and mine. I need to do more on mine. Gray needs to start his.
I need to do something. Man, I don't have the time.
I know. That's where I'm at right now. Anything else for the tools that we use?
I had something. Don't remember.
Notebooks.
Notebooks, yeah. Obviously.
I mean, I have a lot.
I know that.
Go ahead.
For a lot of people, people work very differently in terms of their brainstorming process. So you might use a physical notebook because that's tactile. It's different. You may just write your thoughts into another Word document or Scrivener or whatever it is. I tend to pace back and forth throughout my house or my yard and talk to myself. It's the weirdest looking thing if you were to stumble across it. But so you could do that, and you could actually dictate using audio software to record those. I don't have a great recommendation for audio software because I don't do that. But
Word does have a dictation feature that
is it good
pretty
though?
decent.
Yeah,
I don't know where it ranks like in all of them, but if you already have it, it's pretty good. I had students who were dyslexic and didn't want to write, so they would sometimes use that dictation feature.
So could be an option for you.
Yeah,
could turn a liability or limitation into a strength. Right, faster.
I tried Dragon, naturally speaking. I liked its approach. I couldn't get into dictation to actually write my books. It would be
a note taking feature for me.
Yeah, but I also tried before when I was experimenting with my YouTube videos to do captions. I actually had the word up and the dictation running. Actually did really well for what I was doing. So if you're worried about it, give it a shot. I'd say it's worthwhile.
Come a long way since like the 2005 Microsoft Word iteration in which every other word I thought you were saying was hot dog.
Yeah.
AI.
Yep. And actually kind of know how they train some of this stuff. Backstory into me.
I knew you were going to mention that, JC. You bring this up all the time.
Have you told this story on air, or have we?
I don't know. Digital transcription. Yeah. I did digital transcription where we'd get the phone calls that the machine couldn't process, and we had to fill in, name, birth date, address, phone number, information, and then they would process that. They would use that to improve the overall abilities of their phone system. So on the other side of the transcription that you guys see in those AI captions you might use, there's somebody that has to listen to every single thing you say, and they have to transcribe it. So,
I mean, that's not the case anymore, right? Like that was the genesis of the technology, I would assume.
I would be willing to bet there's still rooms of people that sit for hours at a time listening to recordings and typing them up.
Well, as a for instance, another part of our workflow, of Tyler's workflow, is Riverside, which we use to produce this podcast. And my having worked with it just a little bit as a free trial version, they were able to provide a decent transcript. Yeah, just not instantaneously, but within like a minute or two.
Yeah. And what a lot of times what they'll do, especially with something like Riverside or Google, is they'll randomly pull. They're like, okay, this one, you transcribe it. It won't be every single conversation. That's an overestimation of what's going on. They're grabbing random samples and saying,
Gotcha.
Here, transcribe this, check the accuracy.
I could see that. And training the AI that's doing the bulk of it.
Yeah, especially for and this is going into the electronic side of things. Digital has a hard time because it has a hard time with the low registers. So for the longest time, I couldn't use voice anything. It would not recognize my voice because of where it sits. My wife's voice it did just fine with. Because it
doesn't do very well with my voice either.
Hey guys, I just turned 13.
And again, that's the limitations of taking my words are escaping me. Our voices aren't a smooth wave. They have peaks and valleys that are a lot more extreme. And when you have to transcribe or take that and convert it to a digital format, it sort of cuts off the peaks and valleys and makes it a smooth system. And when you're super high, super low, more of your peaks or valleys gets cut off. So,
no jokes, Tyler. No jokes.
Stop.
That was not. I don't even know what you guys are talking about. I hope that rabbit trail was interesting to you, dear listener. We do have another question we thought we would get to, but maybe we should save it for another time, actually.
Yeah.
And it was a really good question. So let's end on the cliffhanger. Let's save this for next time. Jacqueline, thank you again for your questions. We will cover your next question
next time.
Another time.
Assuming we all live to see next time.
We all live to see it. It's nice that we're actually we're recording this 2 weeks before this will be published, so we have a little bit more space again. So
thank God.
Anything else we want to say to our dear listeners?
Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you so much for being here.
You guys are so awesome. We do not take you for granted. If this is helpful for you, and you know someone else for whom this would be helpful, please spread the word. We would be so delighted if more people will be able to check this out, and this would be able to be of benefit to more writers like us. We're wondering at times what we're doing, right? We want to do that together.
Like and subscribe, hit the bell wherever you're listening to us.
Yep.
Go visit our websites. Talked about them top of the episode.
Yep.
Go live La Vida Loca.
Awkwardly lapse into the end of the episode.
Yep.
Bye, guys. Yeah.
We love you. Bye.
Bye.